Dear colleagues, welcome to our session on business acumen. At UNDP, business acumen, in my view, is about leadership. It's about knowing what we're doing, but it's also about how we do it, the business of being a UNDP colleague. A key issue for us is the Sustainable Development Agenda. But what I want to highlight here is that the Sustainable Development Agenda is a systemic agenda. It's about understanding SDGs as a systems, something that is integrated. The new SDG agenda is quite different from the earlier agendas, most notably the Millennium Development Goals, in the fact that they are interrelated. And that means that affecting one part of the SDG agenda will have impact on other parts of the SDG agenda. And the art is to find interventions that touches multiple goals in the Sustainable Development Goal agenda. But enough about that. I want us to move us forward in the business. We need to understand a little bit more in the new business what is what. And number one is context is key. Inside UNDP, you need to know and work from exactly where you are. And inside that framework of context, when you approach a problem, you need to apply skills that have maybe not been part of your earlier training. There are three things I'd like to highlight. First and foremost, you need to apply systems thinking. And then secondly, you need to be better to do lateral thinking. Try to study that. That does mean it's about what you know, but it's also adjacent to what you know. And it's also about what the others they know. And then finally, the SDG agenda is new. So you need to emphasize and understand innovation and change. Business acumen is to contribute something innovative and do something different from what we do today. Another part of the change we want to be part of is we need to move from what we call funding to financing. It is about financing the solutions. It's about financing the solutions for our clients. Funding of UNDP as an organization is important insofar that it underpins our business model. But this is not about UNDP, it's about the client. So funding to financing is a very important parameter in the future business, so to speak. Similarly, when we move from funding to financing, we also need to think through who are the partners that can help the client to land the transformation that they have to do. They can be partners to UNDP, but again, partners to UNDP is not central. It is the partnership for the client side. And then our job is to be a catalyst. Our job is to understand who can be the partners to a particular solution. Back to business acumen. How can we think about another key parameter on the SDG agenda, and that is leave no one behind. It is very hard to eradicate poverty. It is very hard to get to the last person. Much more difficult to alleviate poverty or getting to some people who are excluded. And this commitment to leaving no one behind means that we need to think through and learn more about barriers for these people. And the recent Human Development Report that has just been launched, the 2016 Human Development Report, had exactly that theme. And you may actually spend some time reading the report. It's an excellent report and it touches upon a lot of the marginalized groups and what are the kind of policies and interventions that can make us reach. In that paradigm of leaving no one behind, we also have to think through what are the groups that we need to reach. It is well established, although not solved, but it's well established that women systematically are being discriminated and excluded. But the UN as a whole, and UNDP also, has a very strong capability to understand this problem and intervene. But new groups, for example, people who live with disability, or certain youth groups, how are we thinking about them? How can we reach them? Because if we do not reach these groups, we are leaving someone behind. Another part of the kind of business that we want to be is in our discussions and in our analysis, we have to learn to better lead with data. And you may reasonably say, well, there's nothing new about using survey data or statistics, which is true. But what is new is the issue of big data. Are you sure that we fully utilize the potential of big data? Are we really using all the data that everyone leaves behind? People on mobile phones, people who use credit cards, etc. Are we really using them in the interest of accelerating sustainable development? Do we know how? Do you know which private sector company to talk to get those data? Take a step back. You are part of something, the office, the unit. We do many projects, but another part of a modern, forward-looking and effective UNDP is to ensure that there's coherence in the portfolio. What does that word mean? It means that we have a clear reinforcement. So what you do reinforces other part of what other people do. And there's a certain coherence in the story, and you can build over time towards a path that truly helps people, and probably towards a path where solutions can be scaled, eventually by other partners than UNDP. As you move forward on your quest for better business acumen, I think also UNDP's business model is changing. And we're kind of having two things in our business model. More traditional funding, where we think about the cost recovery and how we work with things. But we do, for certain portfolios, provide services. And you do not cost recover for services. You charge a fee for service. And that fee does not only include what it costs you to deliver the service, but you also have to think through which kind of risks you are accepting by doing so. And more importantly, what kind of business development do you need financed so you also can provide modern and forward-looking services the year after. Before I close, I just wanted to say that I've spoken a good deal about UNDP, but there's a strong UN element to the UNDP business model and way of doing business. And I think increasingly it's important not only to know what is happening outside your specific area of focus, but also important to know how can you or we leverage what other UN agencies are doing. We are seen from outside as one UN, and there's an expectation that what one UN agency does is leveraged by other UN agencies with the interest of the people we are there to help in mind. And I think this is very important. So let me close by saying that business acumen is different things, but they have certain common characteristics. And the characteristics are that you're focused on the SDG, you're focused on the business model, you spend time to think through how do we reach the last person, which business model do we use, which partnerships can we leverage, and am I truly thinking in terms of financing for the solution of the client, or is it a more narrow bureaucratic interest of how I fund myself or my own organization? If it is the latter, you want to take a step back and get back to basics. So UNDP's business model is for the people we need to help. And it's a model that is going to be a driving force to achieve the SDGs before 2030. So good luck with your learning journey, and see you maybe in another session. Thank you.